It was supposed to be a simple company gala, an event where colleagues dressed in suits, clinked glasses, and congratulated each other for another successful year. I hadn't planned to attend, still recovering from surgery. But my wife, Vanessa, insisted, saying, "It'll be fun. Everyone will understand your situation." I reluctantly agreed. Little did I know, Vanessa had a secret. She'd been hiding one that would humiliate me publicly. Halfway through the evening, her boss, a man known for his arrogance, approached the microphone. The laughter began before I even realized what was happening. "But here's some people have problems in bed after surgery," he sneered. A wave of recognition hit me like a punch. How could he know that? Then I looked at Vanessa, smirking, proud of her clever reveal. My blood boiled. Everyone laughed at my expense, but I stayed calm, quietly plotting the moment of truth. I could feel my face burning with humiliation as the laughter filled the room. Vanessa's smirk was infuriating, perfect picture of arrogance. She had shared my private medical details, something I had trusted her alone with. Her boss, knowing it would be used to shame me. For a moment I considered storming out, but I knew something she didn't. I had prepared for moments like this. Before the event, I had kept evidence, emails, texts, and recordings, proving her affair with her boss. Thought her smirk and his cruel joke gave her power, but in reality, were walking straight into the consequences of their arrogance. Sipped my drink calmly, letting the room absorb the embarrassment she had orchestrated while my mind ran through the steps to flip the situation entirely. By the end of the night, she would realize she had underestimated me completely. Vanessa leaned into her boss, whispering something I couldn't hear. Clearly proud of herself, I smiled faintly and excused myself to the restroom. Pulling out my phone, I made a single phone call. Precise, cold, and calculated. 30 minutes later, chaos erupted. The gala, once filled with laughter and clinking glasses, transformed into panic. Journalists barged in with cameras flashing, shouting questions while uniformed. Police officers stormed the room. Vanessa's boss froze, panic etched across his face. He tried to explain to cover his actions, but the evidence I had sent ahead, emails detailing their affair, recorded conversations, and proof of workplace harassment, left him cornered. Vanessa's face turned pale as she realized the joke she orchestrated had turned into a scandal of epic proportions. The people who had laughed at me minutes ago now stared in disbelief at the unraveling of the couple she thought controlled the night. Vanessa's smirk disappeared instantly, replaced by sheer terror. What's happening?" she stammered, eyes darting to me, pleading for an explanation. Simply watched, silent, as the police began asking questions and the journalists demanded statements about workplace misconduct and harassment. Her boss tried to act confident, but the evidence was damning. He wasn't just being exposed for mocking me. The affair, the manipulation, the threats, everything Vanessa thought would remain hidden now came out. Guests whispered, some backing away, others recording videos of the spectacle. Vanessa grabbed my arm, panicked. "Please, you can't shoot." I shook my head. I could, but it's time for the truth. The humiliation she had planned for me was now hers to endure. And the irony, she had always prided herself on controlling narratives. Tonight, the narrative belonged to me. The police began separating witnesses, questioning staff, and taking statements. Journalists swarmed, capturing reactions from horrified attendees. Vanessa's boss was led to a side room, unable to deny the multiple layers of evidence against him. Meanwhile, Vanessa clung to my arm, her voice trembling. "I didn't think you'd. Actually, I thought it was just a joke." I looked down at her, calm and unshakable. This wasn't a joke, I said. You shared something private to humiliate me. You enabled harassment. You broke trust. And now everyone knows the truth. Her knees buckled and she sank onto a chair, finally realizing her arrogance had catastrophic consequences. The gala, the event where she had planned to publicly humiliate me, became the night she was exposed, a perfect example of karma in action. And I watched, satisfied, knowing justice had been served without a single word of my own ridicule. Guests were still whispering, some recording videos for social media. As the severity of the situation became clear, Vanessa's boss, now sweating and pale, was escorted out by officers while journalists shouted questions about misconduct in private affairs. Vanessa's phone buzzed incessantly, presumably calls from lawyers or frantic colleagues, but she ignored them, her eyes fixed on me. Please, I never meant for this to happen, she cried. I shook my head. Slowly. You shared my private life, laughed at me, and empowered someone to publicly mock me. You created this, not. The lesson had finally arrived. Front of dozens of witnesses, she faced the weight of her actions. The same power she had tried to wield over me, using secrecy and betrayal, had been flipped. And now, the world was watching her crumble while I remained untouched, calm and in control. By the end of the night, the gala had transformed into lawyers, journalists, and police officers filled the room. Vanessa sat in stunned silence, finally realizing that smirking and sharing secrets had consequences she couldn't control. Her boss had been detained temporarily for questioning. The staff was buzzing with rumors, and every guest seemed to have a story about what they had just witnessed. I walked over, calm, collected, and placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. I didn't make a scene. I didn't yell or humiliate anyone. I just let the truth come out. Stared at me, realization dawning. The laugh she had planned for me had returned to her tenfold. And the best part, it wasn't me who destroyed her carefully curated image. It was her own arrogance and deceit. As the night ended, Vanessa's world was irrevocably the laughter, the jokes, the humiliation she orchestrated were now behind her, and she had no one to blame but herself. I left the gala quietly, untouched by the public spectacle she had intended to be mine. The police followed up. Journalists published the story the next day, and the evidence I had compiled ensured justice was served. Vanessa tried to reach out in the following days, panicked and remorseful. But I didn't answer. She had learned a hard lesson. Never betray trust. Never humiliate someone privately, and never assume control over secrets that can destroy. And me, I walked away with dignity intact, my privacy respected, and the calm satisfaction of someone who had turned humiliation into triumph. Some lessons can only be learned the hard way, and she learned hers publicly.